Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us because Johnny's on sleeping here. So, okay.
Kevin's
3,
on top of it. No, I'd
2,
love to hear.
1.
No, go ahead.
Go.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome everybody. Johnny seems to be taking the day off. So, welcome to our weekly broadcast of You Asked For It. And we are here to answer any question that you might have. We enjoy this more than anything we do. Is that correct?
I don't know about more than anything I do.
I like watching football.
More than this? Okay,
Yes.
I enjoy this more than anything we do. It's great. Johnny's going to give us a question that he got either offline from you or got off of YouTube somehow, something going on that is a question that we really think a lot of people are wondering the answer to. So we are going to answer that with our opinions.
You've been
good.
replaced,
Yeah, that was
son.
good. I don't need to be here anymore.
Our educated opinions. There we go.
Educated.
Okay.
That depends on the question. I might not be educated.
Oh,
in this
that's
area.
true. That's true.
Kevin just assumes he's going to be educated and he's good to
We
go.
have an opinion of everything. So we're ready for the question.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that wonderful intro, Kevin. I am no longer needed, so I will read the question and I'll go eat lunch or something. Okay, so this question came from Christopher, and he says, it's kind of worded in a way. Come on, Chris. The way you worded this is... Okay, it says, discuss the movement away from any type of religion and what people are now putting their faith in. So people who are possibly moving away from religion, first question, what are they putting their faith in?
They're called the nuns.
Besides
No,
that,
there is a term
okay.
for this, actually, and it's called the nuns.
Yep.
And there's been several articles about it, about the increase of the nuns. You've heard of that?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's kind of the first question. And then along with that, those people that are moving away from any type of religion, what is their new viewpoint on death?
That's a broad question.
You want us to give all 1 million things they view?
I will start the timer for the next 15 hours. Let's go.
I love the question, and there is a movement towards away from all religion, but there's nothing new under the sun. It's kind of just going back to humanitarianism or even way, way ancient. There was a term for this belief. It skips. Do you know what the term was? For just don't believe in any God at all. But the problem is today, it's not like the people are moving away from any God at all. Our particular culture is moving into we are God. So I don't believe in any other religion. I believe that we are God. We control everything. We are. We can solve our own problems.
Everything's up to us.
Yeah.
Everything's up
Okay.
to us. So there's much more responsibility on mankind for that. As far as the view of the afterlife after that, there is not just one. This whole movement of the nuns have many different views of the afterlife. So that's a hard question to ask. And none of those views are new. They are kind of the same old thing gets recirculated over and over again.
Yeah.
The view of everybody goes to a utopia, whether you call it heaven or not, whatever, there is a strong view of everybody goes to a better afterlife. Not explain what that is. There's a strong view of everybody dies. And that's probably getting more prevalent than anything else. When you're dead, you're done. And there is none.
That's just it.
Was there ever a question of whether everybody died or not? The way you worded that made it seem like some people didn't believe that you actually died.
I think he's saying it in like, there's nothing after
Oh,
this
just
life.
nothing.
It's just,
You're just void and
That's it.
nothing.
Yeah. Your life
that'd
is
be
over.
terrible.
You have no memory. You have no consciousness after death. And that's really popular and that's growing. But what I think is more interesting that we can talk about is interesting how people come up with their views. We talk about this often in funerals. We really do bring up the topic, and we're not telling anybody what to think, but just asking a question.
Yeah.
A lot of these nuns have different views. A lot of them they don't even agree on the same view, just that there is no super higher power. We are it.
Everything in these nuns, like in his original question, what are people moving towards? I've heard this term so much in the past 2 or 3 years, this subjective morality of this, and I don't understand it, but I think they come from this view that humans are generally good.
Yeah.
And I just blatantly disagree with that because I know myself.
Yeah.
So what they're believing in goes that humanitarian, we can solve our problems. We know what's good. We have a responsibility. But along with what you said, like, well, if you just that whole train of thought, I just can't work through, because then if when you die, you just die and that's it. Like, well, then who cares? Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
If that is, yeah, like
That's just it. Like,
if this is all you got, if this earth is all you got,
it seems not to be logically connected, or I don't know.
Did I say humanitarian? I meant secular humanism.
Yeah.
Sorry. Secular humanism is really what it is, and it's not new. So, but I think that a lot of just rational thought would lead you to, why would you go there? Making up your own thing.
Yeah.
This idea of circumstance determining morality or subjective morality is, in this situation, I'll just decide what's right or wrong. That all goes back to I'm God. I'm the one that decides what's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. You can't decide what's right and wrong for me, nor can any God decide what's right and wrong for me. And there's just so many things wrong with that. I know it feels good for a while, but there's so many things wrong with that. Back to what we do at funerals, oftentimes, not always, but just ask the question, just that everybody has a view. You might have a view different than secular humanism, different than Christianity, whatever. But the question is, where did your view come from? Yeah. That is a huge question, because if my belief in God, spirituality, my immortality, if my belief I made up, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to I make it up. Like somehow it's going to happen because that's how I want it to be. It's just kind of childish, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to put them down, but it is childish. So the question comes, and something we say often is, nobody's really qualified everybody's on a search for this thing of what happens when we die. Is there a God? And none of us are really qualified to answer that. We can come up with an opinion, but be honest with ourselves and say, where did that opinion come from? It came from my Uncle Bob when he was drinking one night. Okay, as long as we know.
Yeah.
What
a great origin story.
The fact is, we are not qualified to answer that. We have to look to somebody else. Well, who are you going to look to? You're going to look to Muhammad? You're going to look to Buddha? Fine. That's right. But look to somebody, other than ourselves. And then that person we're looking to, how qualified are they? And we all as Christians, we come to the basis of this. Jesus is the only one who ever claimed he came from God. Buddha never did. Muhammad never did. Confucius never did. Actually claimed, I came from God. And something we say often, and it's just worth repeating, Jesus never said, believe me because I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He never said that.
Yeah.
Why? Because he knows Confucius and Buddha and Muhammad, they all say the same thing. Jesus was so practical. He said, hey, I'm telling you I've come from God. I'm telling you I'm the way to God, but I don't expect you to believe me because I'm telling you, or I talk fancy, or I can write a book. I'm telling you to believe what I say by the signs that I do. They are to give a testimony to what I'm saying is true. Watch this. Remember when John the Baptist said, his followers said, are you really from God? Are you the Christ? He said, go back and tell John what you see. Yep. You see blind eyes healed. You see the dead raised. You see walking on water, feeding 5,000, telling the storm to stop. Hey, listen, all of these miraculous miracles nobody's ever done. I'm not doing them just to show you spectacles of fireworks.
Look how cool I am.
Look at how cool I am. I'm doing this to give you actual evidence and proof that I am who I said I am.
Yeah.
And he's the only person who ever said, I'm going to die, go into the grave, and come back. Mm-hmm. Nobody else ever said that. So, and this is where the conclusion comes in a funeral. It's very appropriate to come to this conclusion. Then maybe it's Jesus is the one we should be looking to for these answers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If he's the only one qualified, if he's the only one that proved that he's from God, maybe we should pay closer attention to what he said and not just discredit him as another religion. Mm-hmm. So that's where this comes down to, these nuns. Where are you going to? Who are you following? And why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah.
Are you just making it up?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times, we read a book by Andy Stanley about this, but this whole movement away from Christianity, which is backed up by miracles, is backed up by Jesus, is backed up by historical textual evidence that far outweighs anything else. Yep. It's not even worth comparing. But a lot of times I think what happens with these nuns and people even that I've talked to is they've been sold the wrong version of Christianity.
Yeah.
And that's why they move away.
Yep.
Because
they don't really know what Christianity's about. Yeah. If they did, they wouldn't be against it.
no one would be against it.
No one would be.
Well,
It's the best deal
I agree.
ever.
And I think a lot of people, like you said, are sold the wrong version. I think they're sold a version of hypocrisy and a whole bunch of different things, performance and this and that. And I totally agree that there's, like in anything in the world, there's can be a few bad eggs that can ruin it for the rest of you.
You know how to not be a hypocrite? Don't pretend to be perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Amen.
Admit that you're a failure.
So if you were, okay, if somebody was trying to form a viewpoint and you say kind of do your homework, how far do you go back? Where if you're trying to form a viewpoint on anything, well, the person who's telling me about it, Uncle Bob, like, who taught Uncle Bob and who taught Uncle Bob's teachers and who taught their teacher? Like, how far do you go back before you feel like you've come to a good conclusion?
I think a great analogy for that is a man named Lee Strobel. Lee Strobel was a journalist by trade, and he was an atheist. His wife became a Christian. It caused a lot of concern for him. So he wanted to help his wife by setting her straight and releasing her from this Christian, following this Christian thing. So he set off on his journey as a journalist to research, and he promised himself this: I will be honest with the results of the research. I will follow where the evidence leads.
Okay. Yep.
I will not try to twist it one way or the other. I will follow the evidence. And my answer to that question is do what Lee Strobel did. You follow the evidence far enough until you are absolutely convinced this is the truth.
What was the outcome of that?
He became a Christian. and I'll say this, and
If
I
you
really
want to
believe
shortcut
this.
that journey, you can just read his book.
Yeah. At least there's many more like him, but he's one that was very honest, a skeptic against it. But any person today that it's fine if you say I don't want to be a Christian, but for any person to say I don't believe that Jesus Christ was a living character in the history of our world is really, really denying the facts. You are denying the facts. It is a very, very uninformed thing to say that you don't believe in Jesus. Now, you cannot believe he's the Son of God. That's your choice.
But even to deny his miracles that are so well documented.
You are deceiving yourself to deny this Jesus was here. He changed the world. He set things in motion. He documented unexplainable things, even from a Roman historical standpoint.
Non-Christian Roman historians.
Standpoint, that it is very naive to just discredit Jesus. It is, Other religions that are not Christian, they're not that foolish. They know. Muslims and Jews both know Jesus was here.
Yeah.
Jesus was here. Jesus did these amazing things. We're still going to deny he was God, but you can't deny him. So that's your first step as a nun, as a person who says, I don't want to believe in any religion. You really have to pay attention to Jesus. You have to. It's foolish not to.
So to answer that question, you basically say, where are people turning? It's kind of their own thought process and their own made up way of believing what things are, and their viewpoint on death, we heard, is they're just not really anything.
Varied on each person.
I mean, and this is all opinion speaking, but can you even imagine living one day on this earth without knowing that there's eternal life afterwards?
Yeah, I can, because I used to.
Yeah.
It just is a way suckier way to live.
Yeah, no, I guess that's,
Yeah.
I would say a great answer to that is the older I get. When I was young, I wouldn't say I didn't believe it. I didn't care as much.
Yeah.
When I was your age, Johnny, I didn't care because that's just it didn't matter in my life.
Yeah.
The older I have gotten and the closer to God and knowing him better, the more I'm looking forward to and really glad that this life isn't all there is. And matter of fact, this life is just a very hardly anything to
I thought
our.
you meant closer to God in like a timeline sort of
you
way.
were going to say that.
Yeah.
I literally saw your face and I was like, I know where he's going. I know where he's going.
The closer I get to literally seeing God.
At 60 years old,
Yeah.
I can see the end. I can see the
jealous.
end. And I'm happy about it, actually.
Yeah.
This life is not all there is. But the original question, why are so many people moving away from religion? We have gotten into an age that if you research all of human history, there's nothing really new under the sun. That different beliefs have always come around, because I believe the core of those beliefs are from the enemy. I believe in a real Satan, a real devil, and I believe that he really wants to steal, kill, and destroy God's creation that he loves the most. And he's been at the basis of all of these, and it's nothing new under the sun. However, what's different is we live in a day and an age today that we are more arrogant than ever before as human beings, that we actually believe our own lies. And that could be all of us, that we believe that we have more control than we do. It's a shame that we actually think we can control certain outcomes, and we don't even know if we're going to live tomorrow. Bible addresses this in many different ways and shapes and stuff, but it's I love one of the things that God said to this guy named Job. You have to read it. It's an interesting story, but with this, Job thinks he's so hot and knows everything, and his friends think they have all the answers. And God just says something simple, if you think you know everything, you think you're God, where do I keep the snow in the summertime? Where do I hold the buckets of rain? That kind of, were you there when I created the foundations of earth and space? Yeah. Like, were you there? Really? You think you're really all that cool, huh?
Wait a minute. Perspective?
There you go.
We just had to fit it in somewhere.
It all comes back to that. Anyway, hey, just to reiterate, if you are a nun watching this or you're tempting to go there, God loves you as much as he loves us. We just, last week, we're talking about that. He does, and his kindness is meant to lead you to him. I know we look at God's judgment all the time. We look at the hypocrites in the world, how horrible Christians can act towards other people. I think is horrible, but that's not God. That's Christian people.
That's broken people.
God loves you so much that he sent his son Jesus for you, to rescue you, to have a relationship with you, and his kindness is meant to lead you to him, not to repel you from him. His judgment is not to repel us from his kindness is designed to draw us to him.
Would you say that's a good starting point to tune out what the world's telling you, try and understand God's love for you?
Mm-hmm. I think a greatest starting point, and I'll end with this, the greatest starting point is to earnestly seek.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a promise there. Jesus himself just absolutely promised us, if we would sincerely seek him, we will find him. If we sincerely ask, we will find the answers. And I think just one thing is that make sure we're looking for God and not looking for bettering the world.
Yeah.
A lot of other, I think there's some religions in our world that are better at bettering our world than Christianity. If your goal in life is you want to just make the world a better place to live, there's some other religions that are really good at that. But God's goal is not bettering this earth. God's goal is having a relationship with us and spending eternity with him. And so I really believe anyone, no matter how far you are from God, no matter what you believe, if you will earnestly, like Lee Strobel did, earnestly seek, follow the evidence, you will find God.
Good deal. Do you ditto?
Yep.
Okay. Kevin, you brought us in. You wanna take us out?
Bye. No. If you have
a little more training needed.
If you were interested by this or enjoyed watching it and you have a question, we would love for you to send the question to Johnny somehow.
Contact at accesschurchonline.org. That's an email. Message us on Facebook. Or the easiest step possible, type in the comments of this video. And we should say this every week, but literally any question under the sun that you'd like us to spend some time talking about.
It doesn't have to be like a Bible-related
doesn't have to
question.
be religious doesn't have to be. Yeah, I mean, it can be.
Ask a sports question.
I was literally just going to say, you want to have an episode where Kevin literally doesn't say a word,
Yeah,
and
if
Shaheen
you're
and I
sick
talk
of
the entire
listening to me
time.
talk,
Ask a
bring
sports
up
question.
any sports question.
Yeah.
Any topic under the sun.
I will look completely like a dork standing sitting here.
No, you'll say your things where you'll be
What's
like,
the shape of the ball in that sport? I'm not sure.
Kevin will be like, well, I think when they do the XZ350 pass, I think that's probably the coolest one I've ever seen. That's what you'll hear from
Amen,
Kevin.
brother.
Anyway, send us some questions, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we'll be back next week. We can't wait to answer your football questions. I mean, your questions. All right, have a great day.